I had been in the house for exactly 4 days when my brother called. Not to congratulate me, not to ask how the move went, he called to tell me. Not ask, tell that he and my sister-in-law were driving up on Friday with the whole family. His kids, her parents, her sister and her husband, a cousin nobody had seen in 3 years, and a few people whose names I didn't even catch before he started talking about which rooms had the best views. "You've got 3 extra bedrooms," he said. "Plenty of space." I was standing in my kitchen when he said it, bare feet on the new hardwood floor I had spent 11 months saving for. The morning light was coming in sideways through the window above the sink, and I remember thinking it looked exactly like the listing photos. Exactly, which almost never happens. I had closed on the house 6 days earlier, a 3-bedroom craftsman about 40 minutes outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Small yard, covered porch, a creek you could hear, but not quite see from the back steps. I had looked at 42 houses over 14 months. I had eaten lunch at my desk every single day for 2 years. I had not taken a vacation. I had sold furniture, cancelled subscriptions, driven a car with a cracked windshield for 8 months because I did not want to touch the down payment fund. I was 31 years old and I had done this entirely by myself, and I had been inside my own home for 4 days. "Friday," my brother said. "Probably around noon, maybe a little after." "How many people?" I asked. He gave me a number. I asked him to repeat it. 19 people. My brother and my sister-in-law, her parents, her sister's family, which was 4 people on its own. 3 cousins from her side I had met maybe twice. 2 of my brother's work friends who apparently came to everything now, their kids ranging from age 2 to 14. A dog named something I also didn't catch. "You'll love it," my brother said. "It'll be like a housewarming." I said I'd think about it. He said great, they'd see me Friday. I stood in my kitchen for a long time after that call. The refrigerator hummed. The creak made its sound. I had a cup of coffee going cold on the counter and I didn't touch it. Here is what I need you to understand about my brother. He is not a cruel person. He's not calculating or deliberately unkind. He's just someone who has moved through his entire life, assuming that doors will open for him, that space will be made, that the people who love him will absorb whatever he needs without complaint. He married someone exactly like him. They are genuinely happy people, the 2 of them, in the way that people are sometimes happy when they've never had to fight for anything. I love my brother, I do. But I had learned, slowly and at some cost, that loving him did not mean making myself smaller so he could be comfortable. I thought about calling him back immediately. I practiced the words in my head while I walked from the kitchen to the porch and back again. "I'm so glad you want to celebrate with me, but I'm not ready for guests. The house isn't set up. I need more time. This is not a good weekend." Every version sounded like an apology. I didn't call him back that day. I told myself I was thinking. What I was actually doing was something I recognized later as a kind of grief. The specific grief of realizing that even your biggest accomplishment is not enough to make certain people see you differently. By Wednesday I had made my decision. I called my brother. He didn't answer, so I left a voicemail. I told him I was happy to see him and celebrate, but that Friday didn't work. The house wasn't ready for guests, and I needed him to postpone. I suggested a date 3 weeks out. I told him I'd cook a real dinner, we'd do it properly. He texted back 2 hours later. "We're already packed. Kids are excited. Can't really turn back now. We won't be any trouble. See you Friday." I read that text 4 times. Then I called the non-emergency line for the local sheriff's department. I want to be clear about something. I did not do this out of anger. I was not trying to embarrass my brother or make a scene. I called because I had just purchased a home. I had asked someone not to come. They had told me they were coming anyway, and I wanted to know what my options were. The woman I spoke to was very straightforward. She told me that as the homeowner, I had every right to refuse entry. She told me that if people arrived and would not leave after being asked, that was trespassing. She told me to call 911, not the non-emergency line, if that happened. I thanked her. I hung up. I went to the hardware store. I had the locks rekeyed that afternoon. The locksmith was a quiet older man who did the job in under an hour and didn't ask questions. I gave him a cash tip and he told me to have a good evening. Thursday night I packed a small bag with things I'd need for the next several hours. I put it by the front door. I wrote down the direct number for the sheriff's non-emergency line, the name of my real estate attorney, and the address of the nearest coffee shop with outdoor seating, which was about 6 minutes away. I did not sleep much. Friday morning I got up early, made coffee, sat on my back porch and listened to the creek. It was the clearest I had felt all week. There is something about deciding to hold a line that quiets you down inside. I had spent 4 days twisted up with anxiety about this conversation, and now that the decision was made, I just felt still. They arrived at 12:47. I know the exact time because I was standing on my front porch when the first minivan pulled into the gravel driveway. Then a second car, then an SUV I didn't recognize. Then another car that parked halfway on the grass because there wasn't room on the driveway anymore. My brother got out first. He was smiling. He looked genuinely happy to see me, which was the hardest part. "There she is," he called out. He had his arms open like this was the most natural thing in the world. People started pouring out of the cars. Children immediately ran toward the porch stairs. My sister-in-law was already on her phone, pointing at the house and saying something I couldn't hear. Her mother was taking a photograph. I stepped to the top of the porch stairs and I said loudly and clearly, "I need everyone to stop for a second." Some people stopped. A few kids didn't because they were kids. My brother kept walking toward me, still smiling, thinking I was making a speech. "I left you a voicemail on Wednesday," I said. "I told you this weekend didn't work. I asked you to postpone." His smile shifted, not gone, just recalibrated. "We talked about this," he said. "Everyone's already here." "I understand that," I said, "and I'm sorry you made the drive. But I'm not able to have guests this weekend, and I'm asking you not to come inside." There was a very particular silence. The kind that happens when a group of people all realize at the same moment that things are not going the way they expected. My sister-in-law looked up from her phone. Her mother lowered her camera. Two of the older kids had frozen on the porch steps, one of them with a hand already on my front door. "I can't open this door," I said to them as gently as I could. "I'm sorry, guys, it's not a good time." My brother's voice dropped. "Are you serious right now?" "I am," I said. "I left you a voicemail. I asked you not to come. You came anyway. I love you, but I can't let you into my house today." "We drove 3.5 hours, my sister-in-law said. Her tone had changed entirely. "I know, I'm genuinely sorry about that. I asked you not to come." Her father, a large man I had met exactly 3 times, crossed his arms and said something under his breath to his wife. I heard the word ridiculous. My brother walked closer. He lowered his voice in the way people do when they want the conversation to feel private even though it isn't. "What are you doing?" he said. "These are family. These are my kids. You're going to make us stand in the driveway?" "I'm asking you to go home," I said, "or to find somewhere else to stay this weekend. There are some nice places in Asheville. I'm happy to look some up." "You're unbelievable," my sister-in-law said, and she wasn't trying to be quiet about it. My brother stared at me for a long moment. I looked back at him. I didn't say anything else, because I had already said everything that needed to be said. Then he said, "If you don't let us in, I'm calling Mom." I nodded. "That's okay," I said. "You can do that." He called her, right there in the driveway in front of everyone. I could hear my mother's voice tinny through the phone speaker. She sounded concerned. He handed me the phone. "Honey," my mother said, "what's going on?" I explained it as simply as I could. I told her I had asked them not to come, they came anyway, and I wasn't letting them in. She was quiet for a moment. "Can't you just no?" I said. "I can't just." Another silence. Then she said quietly, "Okay." I think she understood, even if she didn't say it. She had watched me go after this house for over a year. She knew what it had cost me. She didn't push. I handed the phone back to my brother. He said a few more things to her. His voice had gone flat and tight. Then he hung up and looked at me. "We're not going to find a hotel," he said. "With this many people this late." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry. That's why I asked you on Wednesday not to come." He stood in the driveway for a minute. Then he turned back to the cars. He didn't say anything to me. He just started walking, and people started moving, in that shuffling, humiliated way of a group that expected one thing and got something else entirely. My sister-in-law walked past me close enough that her shoulder almost brushed mine. She didn't look at me. Her mother gave me a look that I will remember for a long time. Her father said again, something under his breath. The last person to leave the driveway was my brother. He stopped at the door of his minivan and turned around. "I don't know what happened to you," he said, "but you didn't used to be like this." "I let that a house," I said, "by myself, and I asked you to respect that. That's all that happened." He got in his car. I watched the convoy leave, 3 cars and a minivan, backing out one at a time onto the road. When the last one was gone, I sat down on my front porch steps and I just stayed there for a while. Here is something I did not expect. I didn't cry. I thought I might. I had been dreading this in some form or another for 4 days, and now it was done, and I felt clear, not happy exactly, not proud exactly. Something quieter than either of those things. The creek was making its sound. The afternoon light was moving across the yard. I had a house, and the house was mine, and there was no one in it but me. I called my mother that evening. She answered on the second ring. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I'm okay," I said. "I actually am." She asked if I thought I'd done the right thing. I told her I knew I had. She didn't argue with me. She asked about the house, the real questions, the ones she'd been saving up, about the porch and the creek, and whether the guest room had good light. We talked for almost an hour. I didn't hear from my brother for almost 2 weeks. When he finally called, he didn't apologize, not really. He said he thought I had overreacted. He said the kids were disappointed. He said my sister-in-law was hurt. I listened to all of it. I didn't get angry. When he was done, I said, as calmly as I could manage, I asked you not to come. You came anyway. The only thing I did was enforce that. He said I made him look bad in front of everyone. I thought about that for a second. You decided to come to my home without my permission, I said. I didn't make you do that. He was quiet. We talked for a little while longer. It wasn't resolved. These things don't resolve quickly, in my experience. But I said what I needed to say, and he heard it, and I think on some level, somewhere below the defensiveness and the embarrassment, he understood it. My sister-in-law sent me a text about 3 weeks after that. It said, I think we need some space from each other for a while. I replied, I understand. I hope we can talk soon. She didn't respond. I had people over for the first time 6 weeks after closing. My 2 closest friends from college, a bottle of wine, dinner I made myself in my own kitchen. We sat on the back porch and listened to the creek, and I told them the whole story. One of them laughed so hard she spilled her wine. The other one was quiet for a moment and then said, I'm really proud of you. I'm not sure what I expected when I bought this house. I knew it would be hard to get. I spent 14 months and most of my savings getting it. What I didn't fully anticipate was that having it would require a different kind of work. The work of making clear to the people who love me that my home is mine, that my space is mine, that the fact that I love them does not mean I will hand over whatever they want whenever they decide they want it. That is a line I have had to learn to hold in my own life over and over, in ways large and small. It does not come naturally to me. It has never come easily. But I stood on my porch steps on a Friday afternoon in October, and I said what I meant, and I didn't open the door. And the house was still mine when everyone left. It will still be mine tomorrow. That is enough.